Running SAP BTP at scale means one thing: operations can't be an afterthought. Teams need visibility, automation, and the ability to run their landscapes with confidence. That's exactly where SAP Cloud ALM for Operations is making a real impact, elevating how organizations monitor, manage, and optimize their BTP environments with greater clarity and control. Welcome, everyone. I'm Tania, and I'm excited about the second episode of Core Capabilities for SAP BTP Explained. Last week, during our first episode, I brought a bit of backup. I'm really happy to have again Boris Sarska joining me as co-moderator. Boris brings strong experience in BTP and will help make the series more interactive by bringing in your questions and perspectives as we go. Boris, great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tania, for the short introduction. Looking forward to our session and really looking forward to this episode, especially with the two experts for SAP Cloud ALM for Operations. Thanks, Tania.
Great. And now let me introduce our experts for today. I'm really happy to have here with me Stephanie Jerch and Carsten Heinz. Stephanie is part of the product management team for SAP Cloud ALM for Operations. She is a solution expert and runs customer-facing activities around SAP Cloud ALM for Operations. She aims to empower customers to benefit from using SAP Cloud ALM or SAP BTP. Carsten is Chief Product Owner for SAP Cloud ALM for Operations. He's responsible for the product strategy, roadmap, and evolution of SAP's cloud-based application lifecycle management solution, with a focus on operating complex SAP and SAP BTP landscapes. He works closely with customers and partners to shape SAP Cloud ALM's operations capabilities. And now, without further ado, over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you very much, and also welcome from my end. So today's session is around the Cloud ALM for Operations for SAP BTP operations, and we plan to provide some insights as well then a strategy update that will be provided by Carsten. So how did we plan or allocate that session? So first of all, we will have a look into the BTP operation topics that we support with the SAP Cloud ALM for Operations, and then I'll hand it over to Carsten for a strategy update. And last but not least, we saved some time for Q&A, but please also feel free to use the chat and we will then also take up your questions. Keeping this in mind, as especially during the strategy part, we will also give an outlook. So there are certain topics that might underlay a disclaimer, and planning can always be subject to change. Nevertheless, be sure we do our best to deliver and stick to the promise and the topics we want to provide to you. So with this, directly starting with the SAP Cloud ALM for Operations. And for the ones who didn't have yet seen anything around this one, starting with a short explanation of the topic. So the SAP Cloud ALM for Operations is following that process that it's around monitoring, operating your solutions, and within here, it's following that detect, analyze, and resolve flow. This means whenever there's a situation, this is handled. But where is it starting? So from the products you are connecting to the SAP Cloud ALM, and in the BTP, for example, this might be DataSphere, SAC, it might be a custom BTP application that you are connecting, and furthermore services, as well as our main brands, which you can also see. So these ones are connected to the Cloud ALM for Operations. So we are receiving from an inbound side, which you can see on the left-hand side, metrics, some configuration items, log entries, traces, events or alerts. These are then handled within the Cloud ALM for Operations, and from an outbound perspective, besides raising an alert, tickets can be created, tasks, email, chat notifications, as well as operation automations, operation flows. That means automatically triggered actions to resolve the topic, as well as APIs that are providing analytics options as well as raw data. And how are we handling this? Where are we working from a detection and analyze perspective? This is what we are offering by our capabilities. Starting with the business process monitoring. In this application, we are providing business KPIs that help you to monitor your business process and the business health itself. So it's on an application layer. Then the job and automation monitoring is supporting you with monitoring your jobs. So if job executions fail, if there are exceptions during the jobs happening, this is where you can benefit from the job and automation monitoring. The integration and exception monitoring is having two pillars. The integrations on the one hand side is then the interaction, the flows in between services or systems, as well as exceptions that are raised during using the applications. The configuration and security analysis is helping on the one hand side with providing security recommendations like you have in the BTP environment in a huge document. So all the recommendations, this is content that we are bringing continuously in here, as well as configuration changes, but also looking into checks or offering capabilities to check certain settings that are relevant from a security perspective and being notified. The user monitoring can be handled or can be considered from two variants. On the one hand side, there is the real user monitoring. This is about how the users are then using the systems, perceiving the performance, and reacting to the performance a user is facing. And this is the real, so it already happened. And the synthetic user monitoring is then solution agnostic, something on top where you can bring in a 24/7 proactive monitoring to be informed upfront if an application is behaving in a different way than expected. It's slower, it's maybe not available, and in best case, you know it before your users recognize it. So this is then proactive monitoring option. And as well, what we are offering is the health monitoring. The health monitoring is offering technical metrics that are providing insights then on the application. Might it be for your custom BTP application, some memory parameters, CPU consumption, but also other metrics. So there's a lot available. What we have as overarching functionalities then in is the business service management. This brings in the capability to also consume from the Cloud Availability Center, availability of your services, as well as enriching this with the relevant business context so that you can say for your business or for that area, the following users or groups need to be informed because this and that service as a combination is maybe in a planned maintenance. The intelligent event processing helps us with creating the alerts as well as the tickets and the outbound side, triggering a chat notification as well as the operations flow. So all the use cases or all the capabilities are addressing it. And what would we do without the landscape management? So in the landscape management, we have all the information from your services and systems available. And this is then the baseline also for where we then, which we will use in the use cases. And last but not least, from an analytics and intelligence perspective, there we do offer also some APIs that you can use, and especially in the intelligence part, there's more to come. But this is just the baseline of the Cloud ALM for operations, especially if we're in the BTP area. Open telemetry is essential for us. So whatever we implemented here and where we are working on is we are using open telemetry. That is a standard that is open, and it's especially in the observability environment addressing the needs. It's collecting and it's around collecting and correlating metrics, logs, and traces across applications and cloud environments. So why did we choose to use open telemetry? On the one hand side, it's an open standard. It provides a consistency around observability data. There's already an auto instrumentation available, and it is something that is supported by major languages, frameworks, and tools. For us, concretely, the values that we are also then can offer to you based on using open telemetry is that we, on the one hand side, reducing the effort because we have the standard instrumentation, auto instrumentation, as well there's the option for an end-to-end correlation. And it's also possible then to have a seamless integration because if you would like then also to bring in third-party data or consume the data we are offering via third-party tools, then you can do this also in this format. So for us, this means we are offering a standardized observability and we are aiming to have as less setup to be done from your end and a seamless integration. So in that context, what are we offering here if we are talking about customer-facing observability? And this is what you are using. So you can use the SAP Cloud ALM and the operations applications on the one hand side for SAP build services. So services you have licensed, you use from us, and this is then on us to prepare everything so that you can then simply turn on the monitoring and use the application itself and be notified. The Cloud ALM library itself bundles then the standard open telemetry as well as enhancements brought in from our side based on our expertise, based on the products that currently are being monitored and are relevant for you as customer to react to. The second area is the customer build, so the SAP PaaS applications. Here it is then on you to instrument the application. So for example, for the custom build BTP application, you then add our libraries, and then you can also monitor your applications. You can also then for sure bring in data, and this is the next point, via third-party data providers. The most important point is it's then in the open telemetry format, and here we are providing inbound APIs as well as outbound APIs. And this makes it then possible that you have the one place for your process or for your sub-centric area process you would like to monitor, and can also bring in third-party applications that are relevant in order to say, yes, business is running, everything is smooth and is good, and then to be notified in case something changes out of a sudden. And last but not least, if you're using Focus Run, there's also a connector available, and it is possible then to forward the collected data also to your Focus Run. In this context, what is important and where we also are then really aiming to explain, so problem detection, problem resolution for BTP, this is something that is in between central observability, so a unified monitoring. This is what SAP Cloud ALM is then offering. So that there's not the need to check in the morning all the services you bought from us and you really like to use. No, it's on us with the central observability where you have a unified monitoring, being alerted, and then reacting, or then the resolution of the problem itself, then as part of the local observability in the tools, in the local tools itself. Wherever this is possible, we also provide context-sensitive jump-in links. And what you can see as such typical examples, and I'll also have a short demo on this one, is the cloud logging, where we have these jump-in links. Or if you would like to react based on a specific situation alert in an automated manner, then you can also bring in and make use of the automation pilot that automatically certain scripts or steps tasks are executed in order then to resolve the problem, because there might be default measures that you put in place. Nevertheless, if it is in central observability or if it is local observability, we are using the same telemetry data that is provided by the services and systems itself. So they are coming then either from DataSphere, from S4HANA Cloud, SAP S4HANA Cloud also, but that's not BTP, SAP HANA Cloud, Integration Suite, Analytics Cloud, and so on and so forth. So these are just a few examples. So what I brought now from a demo perspective are then two areas so that you see what also happened since the last webcast last year took place. And I would like to start here with the real user monitoring. So the real user monitoring is on monitoring how an application performance is perceived by the users. And here in that case, we use the travel agency from a business user perspective. This is an BTP application. It's instrumented in Java. We embedded it in a Fiori, in a workzone launchpad. So the UI5 requests are then handled and monitored by that one. In that case, someone wanted to adjust the travel and would like to change the currency that travel is paid in. So currency is changed. During the saving, we also always take care about the environment. And during saving, there's an error happening. And this is something that we then can monitor in real user monitoring. On the one hand side, how fast was that request perceived? How was the responsiveness application? But on the other hand side, seeing that exception in a context. And this is now what we are doing. So here you can see the lists, the request names, and we also bring in the actions. As we've seen, there was a save button pressed, and I know this one, so we can directly look into the saving. This happened with this user. So this is the current request, and what you now can see is the full request, starting with the UI5, going then over an HTTP, the S-Flight SFO service. Here you can see the exception that happened, and on the right-hand side, you can see database requests. We have navigation options, which I will use in a moment. So either to details of the request or the cloud logging, and we can forward navigate to the exception where we can see the context as well as the call stack. And at the top, the exception message itself also then offers this jumping context sensitive to the local tools like the cloud logging, where you have further possibilities to also analyze this exception. So this as a basic demo around real user monitoring, but focusing on exceptions that are perceived by your users can also be considered. What we also are offering in this point is then the change point detection, and this is something where you are then notified if the performance of an application changes, so the behavior of the application changes. So in that case, we got a notification, response time changed. We can jump to the alert, and here we can see that the mean response time grew from 500 milliseconds to 29K milliseconds, for sure, a demo example. And if we navigate here to the change point, we can see the aggregated response times as well as the details at the bottom, and we can also see details on the requests. And in the request itself, we can then see on the one hand side that in the front end we had 30 seconds, in the backend service we had 60 seconds, and we can see that a lot of time was spent during processing of this request. And for sure, a user is not happy if it's not, the application is then coming back after 30 seconds with an error or nothing is happening, or worst case, it's stacking up because multiple users are using this application. So from here, we can then also use the navigation options, and also we can then look into the request and see where the time is spent, in order then also to bring in measures in place, let the developers or inform the developers to solve that problem itself. And last but not least, from a demo perspective, I also wanted to show you an update from the health monitoring perspective. So in the health monitoring, it is also possible to monitor your custom-built BTP application with technical metrics, but you can also enrich this by custom metrics. And for sure, you would like also to be informed on or receive an alert if something changes with such a metric. So here we can see the default metrics for that Java application. And if you scroll further down, we can also see some other metrics. So these are parts of them are own metrics. I used here the system CPU usage, put in a threshold itself, and all the metrics itself, and this is an example, you can also check it out for the other metrics, are then providing also some graphical insights on the consumption on the CPU in that case. And this is an own metric, so we would like to get notified here. And what we can do now in the configuration in the event sections is we can add an event, and you can see by the SAP Unveil and custom, this is now a custom event. So we put in a meaningful name, system CPU usage, for sure we can also add a description. And then in the next section, we can assign which metrics we would like to have in here. So in that case, it's the system CPU. And in the last column in that view, you can also see there is a threshold behind maintained, and you say, yes, this is exactly the metric we would like to get notified on. And then we can decide also if we would like to get it per instance in that case. So if the application is having multiple instances, we are informed. So we are selecting here to create an alert, as well as we would like to get an email notification. So the recipient is maintained and saved. And now we created a custom event. And after a while, and this is also what I prepared to show you here, that event occurred. So the CPU consumption reached our threshold, so we received an email. And in that email, we can also then navigate to the alert, so that alert inbox that you have in all the applications. And here we can then also see the details. When did it happen? Is it something that happens frequently or for a long term? So this as an inspiration, what you can also do with custom metrics in that area. So that you know from a BTP service offering perspective, where can you monitor or which services you can monitor. This is a tailored slide to also show you services. So the custom built BTP applications are then supported by the business process monitoring, exception monitoring, integration monitoring, We also have them in real user monitoring, for example, and health monitoring. The integration suite is for sure also an important service. You can then use it in the integration monitoring. We also have the build process automation in the job and automation monitoring. And in the real user monitoring, I would like to at least mention the SAP Build Work Zone, because this, if you use the work zone and then embed your application in here, it directly helps without further instrumentation to collect the UI5 requests. And here I'll not read out the entire service. I could do so, believe me, but on the top hand side, I would like to let you know there's also a QR code maintained. This is our supported solutions area in the SAP Help portal. There you can check out all the services that we are currently supporting and with which use cases, which capabilities itself, and be sure there's a lot more coming. So we are continuously working for you on that topic. And last but not least, before I'll hand it over to Carsten for the update from the strategy side, here are also some links for you with where you can find further information. So be it the roadmap for the Cloud ALM for operations itself, or the AI topics we are currently working on, as well the documentation, a learning course if you would like to learn. If something is missing and you would like to share us feedback and tell us this is something where we should really take a look into and can help you with your operations, then make use of the influence program, and especially for custom BTP applications, also 2 areas where you can find then further information how you can instrument your applications in the Node.js or as well in Java. And with this, I would like to then hand it over to Carsten, and already excited on the strategy update.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. So also warm welcome from my side. I'm Carsten Heinz. I'm Chief Product Owner for Cloud ALM for Operations as well as Focused Run. And I want to now quickly give you an update about our mission. So what are we aiming for with Cloud ALM for Operations? Stephanie already gave you a sneak peek of all our most of our monitoring use cases that we offer. In total, there are 7. So we reach basically from more a system layer with health monitoring, so job monitoring, so more the technical monitoring of your applications. Then we obviously have an integration monitor to actually so that you can observe the integration between your SAP and non-SAP systems, and also going all the way up to a business process monitoring, where you then can have a view on critical business KPIs. And for sure, an area where we are also working on in closing gaps to currently solution manager is configuration and security analysis. So you can there observe the configuration of your system, make sure that they are secure, compare them to SAP best practices, and for sure get notified in case something changes. What Stephanie outlined, and I think what is very important, and I cannot stress it enough for this audience here, we are open beyond SAP. And what does this mean? So first of all, we can monitor already over 100 SAP applications out of the box, most of them with a single click setup. Now, so you don't have to install anything. You can just switch a toggle and the monitoring data, observability data flows in. No? But what is important for this audience, you can monitor your custom built applications on BTP, but also beyond BTP. And this is possible via the Open Telemetry protocol. So we provide a library as it was already shown. You can then instrument the applications, and then basically we support out of the box exception monitoring, health monitoring, and real user monitoring. And then for sure with custom instrumentation on top, you can then also get additional visibility, and then also have then your own build applications available in the other monitoring use cases that we offer. But most important is that by just including the library, you have already a basic coverage available, and it is super simple. So for a developer, that is basically something that he can do during drinking a cup of coffee. Yeah? So that we cannot stress enough as part of this session. And what is also important for us is the collaboration across customers, partners, and SAP. Yeah, and for this we have a business service management, so we sync in all the contractual uptimes of your private cloud as well as your public cloud solutions, and then you can also add custom maintenance windows on top. And then you have everything in one place, and you can then notify your user base. So, for example, if you have to take your custom BTP application down for a certain maintenance activity, then you can handle this and notify the users via BSM, but then also deactivate monitoring during this time, so that you don't get any false alerts or unnecessary alerts. And then, as I already mentioned, for most applications that are supported by SAP Cloud ALM, so basically for most public SAP public cloud solution, activation is done in 1 minute or less, just via pressing a toggle, because we do all the heavy lifting in the background for you. But for sure, I would say this is not enough nowadays. You are asked to do more with less in an AI age, and therefore we are working on autonomous ALM. That basically means that we want to, going forward, continuously analyze all incoming metrics, logs, and traces, correlate them, proactively alert you in case we determine an unregular situation, yeah, then help you in actually resolving this issue via a root cause analysis agent, and then afterward, then also for sure support you in actually resolving the problem. Yeah, that's what we're aiming for with autonomous ALM, and we are going there in steps. And I'm going to now explain to you the steps on how we reach them. How we reach this. Yeah. So first of all, we have in Cloud ALM, we started with AI in individual use cases. So that basically means, for example, in synthetic user monitoring, we have dynamic thresholding. So basically, you don't need to actively set a threshold anymore. The system determines the best threshold or suitable thresholds for a certain time during the day. And so that the system learns it over time, and you just have to turn it on, and thereby you basically avoid false alerts. So you don't get notified basically when there is an high response time during the day, because that is maybe normal. Yeah, but if there is a high response time during the night, yeah, then that should definitely not be the case, and you get a notification, and you can already take proactive actions because before the first users log in. Then conversational ALM, that is then the next evolution that comes with Joule, and we're gonna release the SAP Cloud ALM Joule capabilities in a Sapphire time frame. And I will also, as part of this webcast, provide you with a few demos of what we're going to offer. And then the next evolutionary step is for sure agents, where then the system, for example, automatically performs a root cause analysis by itself, and then basically just presents you with the findings, and you don't have to do this anymore yourselves. I think this will be a significant time saving for most of our users. So let us then dive into a little bit on how the situation is today and how we're going to improve this in steps. So today, you usually have to select a metric and configure a threshold. So even if you have build an own BTP application, you deploy it, you start monitoring with Cloud ALM, you have to actually then determine a select the metric, and then figure out an appropriate threshold maybe for performance metric over time. So and that might take a week or two until you actually get it right, so you don't get any false alerts. But this we actually want to change. We want to take this burden from you with dynamic thresholding, as already explained, so that is suitable for certain metrics, mostly for metrics that come in at an regular intervals. So therefore we have an algorithm, I just explained it. And then we have a change point detection that is more for irregular requests, that is used, for example, in real user monitoring, as Stephanie has shown. So depending on your monitoring needs, we have the right method available to auto-determine a threshold. And something that we are working on is also a pattern detection, especially in exception monitoring, but also in integration monitoring, where we're going to group exceptions, similar exceptions, and thereby basically allow you to better identify what is now important, what you need to work on or actually have a look at. And I'm also going to show you this as part of this webcast. And where do we want to go when it now comes to configuration and security analysis and monitoring use case that I mentioned earlier? So there you need to make sure that a system or service is configured securely. You might want to use your own policies. In the past, you had to always then look into regular expressions to define those policies and create your own regular expression. And obviously in an AI age, in a Joule age, we want Joule to do this for you. So you just describe to Joule what you actually want to check. Joule creates a check, tests it, and so it becomes accessible also for a non-expert to actually create those checks. And then I already explained that we want to go to an automatic agentic situation detection. So instead of actually defining what needs to be monitored, we monitor everything that is actually coming in from a metrics, logs, and traces perspective that we receive via the open telemetry protocol. And then we constantly have a learning algorithms in the background specific to your customer landscape. And in case there is an abnormal situation, we will be able to detect it and notify you. And then also we go into agentic configuration. So that is especially important for public and private cloud solutions that you want to monitor with Cloud ALM. So we usually get asked by customers, what are the best practices that I should monitor for my specific use case? And then you basically go in, you just type in your use case for a certain cloud service, and then the system will actually then set up monitoring for you instead of you having to actually go through a manual and reading and then determine what needs to be done. The system will do it based on basically after you have described your needs. So now, what does this then mean in the end? That means that the configuration that is standard and common to you today, so that you have to manually do something, that will actually going forward just be the expert configuration. So at the end of or mid 2027, that will become an expert configuration that you're only going to do in exceptional cases. And the standard configuration will be that you turn it on the monitoring for your specific application. System will enter a learning phase, Cloud ALM will enter a learning phase, and then automatically alert you in case it detects an abnormal situation. And if you still want to do something special, configure a special threshold for certain aspects, then you can still for sure do this. But the paradigm actually shifts. Now, let us have a look at exception pattern analysis. Okay. Okay, sadly that doesn't work right now. So the demo video, so we're gonna skip it and move on. But just to again explain you the benefits of our new configuration that is coming is you're gonna have a conversational policy creation with especially for configuration and security analysis. We move to agentic situation detection in 2027, so you don't even have to define anymore what needs to be monitored. The system will do it for you. And in case you still want to actually define a certain monitoring scenarios, that will be possible via agentic configuration. Now, let us look at troubleshooting. Yeah, so you develop a custom application on BTP or you have as a standard SAP solution and you run into an issue. Yeah? So what actually is happening today? You have to manually search for obviously for a solution. So you look into SAP notes, into knowledge base articles or in help.sap.com. And if you cannot find a solution, you obviously open a support incident. Yeah? And another area you might be interested in is dashboards. Yeah, so we see customers creating their own dashboards. Basically, all customers create for their own purposes certain dashboards, and that was also an area where we are currently lagging. And I'm now going to explain how we're going to improve this. So first of all, we're going to AI-assisted solving tips. It's already live for exception monitoring. So in case you have an ABAP-based exception, we basically provide you with the best articles or notes that help you to actually resolve the issue. But for sure, you still would actually have to read through it and then tailor it to your situation. And that we're gonna address with AI-assisted alert resolution, where we're gonna, and I'm also gonna show this to you, provide you with a step-by-step guide tailored to your specific situation on what needs to be corrected. And the next evolution of this is then our root cause analysis agent. So this basically means that also for a complex performance problem, not just for an exception, for complex performance problem, we will be able to do also analysis. We're going to check the trace throughout the systems and then support you in actually resolving this problem quickly via our problem resolution agent. And it's very important for us to stress that a problem resolution agent only can work with your consent. Yeah. So for example, restarting or deploying a correction can for sure only happen with the user consent. And for dashboards, we are really close to releasing AI-assisted dashboard creation, and I'm also going to show you this now. So now let's have a look at AI-assisted alert resolution. So how does this work? So here we are in integration and exception monitoring, and you see that you have a lot of exception when it comes to success factors and S4 integration. And then now you want to have a specific look, and you see that the replication of many records has failed. And now you can go into Joule, and Joule will explain you what went wrong. And so it basically understands that here now the bank data replication failed. And now, as you can see, it provides you with a step-by-step guide on how to resolve the issue. And as you can see here, it basically understands that a dash or an underscore is basically an incorrect character in this case and needs to be removed. So it's now actually becomes very simple now to correct the actual problem without then having to read many SAP notes or knowledge base article and then until you actually have found appropriate solution. But it still provides you with the sources that have been used to determine here a solution. And now let's go to the AI assistant monitoring dashboards. As said, something that we're going to release very, very soon. So that has been a request from our customers for, I would say, a couple of years now to also provide monitoring capability, dashboard capabilities in SAP Cloud ALM. So you go in, you ask Joule to create a new card for a specific purpose. So here, for example, for the response time and logged in users, because those two aspects always have to be seen in combination, and then it understands, okay, here's the systems that are in scope for this dashboard, and now it dynamically generates a graph displaying the response time and logged in users for the systems that are in scope of this dashboard. And it does so for the last 24 hours per default. And for sure, then you might ask, okay, show me an entire week. And then also Joule understands the context and then display an entire week, but for sure displaying an entire week in an hourly resolution might not make too much sense. So therefore it will now also automatically do further aggregation and then display response time and logged in users in the resolution of an entire day. No? And now you think, okay, that is a great looking dashboard. So, and that basically now means that you actually want to save it. So we created this demo for our summit that happened 2 weeks ago in North America. Now it is being saved. And afterwards, you can go in and actually then add the card to your dashboard, and it will be there then the next time you open the dashboard. So the idea is obviously that you only have to do this once, and you need only to use Joule during the creation phase. Then you can add it to your dashboard, and if you then want to change it afterwards, you can still do it with Joule again. Yeah. And as you also have quickly seen here, we deliver a lot of cards already out of the box, but with Joule you can then create also new ones. And it's also then I would say very user friendly. So in case you want to move the dashboard, the card around, then you can then easily do it on the dashboard, and then for sure also increase or reduce the size. Yeah. To add to this, those capabilities will be accessible to those customers having a general use Joule license and AI credits, and they can be activated then afterwards in SAP for me. So as soon as this capability becomes available, you can activate it in SAP for me. Now, so again, where does this lead us? So we definitely want to support you in a fast incident resolution, and something that we are also looking into is we want to really connect the business process issue with technical root causes. So basically, so if the problem occurs, then also we want to display on what is then actually the impact for your business, and that then helps you in determine like how critical is this issue. Do I really now have to take care of this, or can this wait maybe a day or two until I have a look? And for sure now creating dashboards with Joule becomes accessible for everyone. Also, a non-expert in a certain analytical concept, he or she can just create a card or an entire dashboard via a text prompt. Now, I want to stress again, so what is our vision? And Stephanie already showed the wheel at the beginning of this webcast. So Cloud ALM is a suite. Customers usually start with an implementation project, but once the implementation of a certain feature, capability, or an entire SAP module is completed, then it needs to be handed over to an operations team. And that is already best performed during the testing phase, where after that, we already have basically all the knowledge in the system on what needs to be configured from a monitoring perspective. And that's going forward will be handed over to a configuration agent. So it will do the necessary monitoring configuration in the system. Afterwards, once an abnormal situation occurs, the agentic situation detection will kick in and inform the user, and maybe already perform a root cause analysis, so that you don't just get an alert, you get an alert with the findings on where the problem originates. And then you just have to give your confirmation to basically, so that a problem resolution agent then resolves the situation. Yeah? So that is our vision for autonomous ALM with SAP Cloud ALM. So you are able to do more with less, supported by 4 core agents plus the agentic dashboard creation. But I also want to leave you with I would say, with a teaser for what is coming, and that will be prominently shown at Sapphire next month. So we are living in more and more in an agentic world, and agents that are there in your business landscape, they need also the life cycle of those agents needs to be managed. So today or going forward, you might have SAP agents, so agents that we deliver out of the box together with our business applications. You might build and you probably will build your own custom SAP agents with SAP Build directly on BTP, or there might be third-party agents that come with your third-party applications. And the goal of those of SAP Cloud ALM is for sure to support the entire agent lifecycle of all those agents. Those that come with SAP, those that you build your own, and the ones that come with third-party applications. And how does the agent lifecycle look like with SAP Cloud ALM? First of all, the agents need to be discovered in your landscape. So you need to know which agents are there available, in order then to determine where are the gaps and which agents you might to enhance or combine in order to actually satisfy your needs. And then you start building new agents. Those new agents need to be tested. And afterwards, they will be deployed to your productive landscape. And have a guess, once they are deployed, for sure, they need to be monitored. And at Sapphire 2026, we're gonna show you how this is gonna look like with SAP Cloud ALM. And with this, thanks a lot from my side, and thanks a lot for listening.
This sounds really fascinating. So I'm definitely looking forward to the announcements at Sapphire. Big thanks to Stephanie and Carsten for your excellent presentation. And yeah, let us have a look at the questions. Perhaps you can unshare, then we all of us can join the conversation. Boris, you already answered quite a lot of questions. Thank you so much. Perhaps you want to point out the questions that have not been answered yet.
Yeah, first of all, also a big thank you to Stephanie and then Carsten also for my amazing session. And also kudos to Stephanie. She did provide me all the answers I could provide in the chat. Thanks a lot for that. Just to get everyone on the same page again. I mean, we had a lot of questions. Thanks a lot for all the questions that did came up. And yeah, for the people that did break the ice at the beginning, really appreciate it. There were some questions, first of all, generically on the API limits, right? I mean, there we did provide the answer that there is a certain limit on API usage per month, which is quite huge, I would say. So it's not that fine granular, but rather on a monthly basis. I think that did clarify the things. Then there were several questions around where to find further information. We did provide some specific links, but in general, of course, you get also the slides and then also the links from on the slide from Stephanie with the QR codes that point, for example, to the expert portal and other information sources around it. I'm pretty sure you should be able to find a lot of information around the answers you have come up around. Then another question was around the general usage rights of SAP Cloud ALM. There on the example of if you have a BTP for an SaaS solution, of course, normally when you have a corresponding enterprise support contract, is it right, Stephanie? There you have to help me.
Yeah, either a subscription or if you have the respective service contract, it can also be just one single service without a contract. So go to the shop, put in your credit card, and then you could also use it. Does it make sense that way? No, but in general, the Cloud ALM and this is our mission. We are supporting the customers with our tools. This is how we build it, and wherever possible, we try to stick in this fair usage agreement. So to offer to you all our capabilities as part of your existing contracts and services.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Stephanie. And I also want to stress, I mean, it's really important because SAP Cloud ALM is also the operations platform for SAP Business Technology Platform, right? So it also makes perfect sense when you have corresponding applications or building blocks in use that you then can also make best use of Cloud ALM accordingly. Then we had some special questions around creation of custom matrix and so on. Here again, we did provide some answers, and again, also the links provided by Stephanie on the slides also should help there. Then we had this rather special situation there. Thanks a lot also to Tina for outlining that. I mean, we did provide a direction on how to solve that. Unfortunately, we don't have direct access to the support colleagues here out of this session, but I think that should also clarify things a little bit. Let me just take a look. We have two more questions here or remarks from Dina. Thanks a lot for following up here. If the errors exceptions are available in the ABAP application. Oh no, that was my answer. Is this SAP UI 5 error? Okay, I'm not sure, Stephanie, if we can have an answer here. Or
so I'm not sure about that question. So my kind ask would be feel free to reach out to us, send us an email or use our general inbox, cloudalm@sap.com, and we will then forward that question to the experts.
Thanks a lot, Stephanie. And thanks a lot also for the follow-up question there. With that, we still have some minutes time, but I would just give you a glimpse, a short outlook on what is coming next in our series. But again, feel free to drop the next questions in parallel. Until then, I will briefly share Final slide here. Let me just do that. Here we go. It should come up, hopefully. And here again, we see the full list of the sessions that we do offer as part of our overall webcast series. We had now the first 2 sessions. Yes, of course, still in the second one. What is coming next is also a topic related to SAP Cloud ALM for operations. There we will have a deeper dive at automation operations. They are looking at the interplay of SAP Automation Pilot as SAP Business Technology Platform service together with SAP Cloud ALM, where we can also then see how the interplay does look like and where we have that very close collaboration of both. Actually, this will start in June because, we want to do a short break because normally in May, a lot of attention and events is around SAP Sapphire. So we didn't want to take the focus from that one, but we'll then continue back in June with the upcoming topics. And you see, we have a lot of other topics to be covered. Afterwards, we will cover around security aspects with several sessions. Also in terms of future of governance and compliance. Then again, some special automation topics when it comes to infrastructure as a code with Terraform, giving you practical insights how you can use that to come up with automated procedures to set up your SAP BTP environments with ease. Then looking at connectivity, which is of course also a major key aspect of running applications on the business technology platform with destination service and so on. Then, looking at the different runtime environments and finally also looking at downtime notifications where we can have the interplay of SAP Cloud ALM together with SAP for me. So look out for that. Again, you get also the link here to the overview of the whole series and also the details of the upcoming sessions and the dates. So you can already reserve your blocks for that. We do also provide calendar blockers if you like, but they are also then offered on YouTube. With that, let me switch back to the questions. I'm not sure if something did come up in the meantime. No, that's not the case. Then
No.
with that, I would say, thanks a lot again to Steffi and Carsten. Really appreciate it. I think that was really a highlight also for me personally to have this session as part of our series because it just stresses again the very close interplay of both Cloud ALM and its role for a business technology platform. With that, also big thank you to you, Tania, as facilitator of our series. And time to wrap it up, I would say. Thanks, Tania.
Thank you.
Thanks to you for answering all the questions in the chat. I think it's really valuable information that you provide to our attendees. And again, of course, a big thank you to Stephanie and Carsten for your excellent presentation. And I really look forward to the outlook, to what's coming. What do you the sneak peek you provided, Carsten, for Sapphire. It sounds really fascinating. Where we're heading. And with this, if any questions come up, also for those who were not able to join us live, any questions you have, put them in the comments area underneath our video, and we will definitely answer them. And with this, have a great time until our next session, June 18. I look forward to seeing you there. You will be informed if you registered for our BTP series. And with that, have a great day, have a great evening, depending on where you are. Bye-bye.